Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime Local News. The Saskatchewan civic election is today as voters in Saskatchewan will go out and vote. Connor Chan has more for where residents can go.
Well, joining us here today is Doug Broadwell, the returning officer for this election here in the city of Lloydminster. Doug, I know the drive-through voting was supposed to happen yesterday over the weekend, but due to the weather, it was canceled. So what's the process and protocol now for residents that want to go vote today?
So obviously, because of the weather event we had to make the unfortunate call to cancel the drive-through event. We've moved that poll to City Hall. So we still have 4 polling locations for the city. We have 2 at the Service Sports Center, 1 at the Wild Rose Pavilion, and of course the 1 at City Hall. And once again, we're facing challenges because of the weather at the drive-through, and we made that decision because we needed to ensure that the safety of our poll workers and the people coming through the polling stations.
I know weather does play a major factor, especially with the roads kind of not being the best right now, but what's sort of the expectation for the city today when it comes to voter turnout?
Well, we're very fortunate. The event came through on Saturday. Today looks like a little bit of a clearer day, so people are a little more mobile. And I've been in touch with my counterparts across Saskatchewan early this morning, and they're facing greater challenges than we can, even with poll mobility. They can't even get poll workers to the station. So we opened on time. We've seen a fairly steady flow of voters through today. So our expectation is that we'll have a fairly strong turnout today.
Doug, I guess just talk about also how important it is for residents to go out there and vote today.
Well, it's not only city council, but it's also the school board. So these are opportunities so that you can get out. You can vote for the candidate that best represents your beliefs or views of how the city should grow and what's going to happen with the education in our city. So this is your time and your opportunity to take care of those things. Every 4 years, you get that chance. Voting is a privilege, and we in Canada should exercise that privilege every 4 years.
And lastly, Doug, just remind us what time the polls do close at, as well as where can people find the results?
Well, once the polls closed at 8 p.m. tonight, we were hoping to have results as early as 8:30, and they would be posted on the City Lloyd Votes website. So lloydminster.ca, and follow the City Lloyd Votes web access page.
Well, Doug, I really appreciate your time, and thanks very much for joining us today.
Saskatchewan has 190 new cases of COVID-19, and 1 more person has died. The death was a person in their 80s in the North Central Zone. 19 of the new cases are in the Northwest Zone, which includes Lloydminster and North Battleford areas. 1,289 cases are considered active, 106 of those in our zone. In the Northwest 2 Zone, which is the immediate Lloydminster area, there are 4 new cases and 35 active cases. 37 people are in hospital, 2 of those in our zone. 8 people are in intensive care, 22 more people have recovered. Friday afternoon, the United Way of Lloydminster and District made a donation to organizations across Lloydminster. To make these donations possible, a big chunk of the funding the United Way received was from the federal government, but they also had other support for the donations.
We have the government of Alberta doing a matching program, and we've had all sorts of inpouring of money from corporate sponsors as well. So the response this year through COVID, it's very evident. Everybody's been really stepping up, and we're really happy to be able to distribute 100% of those funds back to the community.
Residents in recovery in the Thorpe Recovery Centre were among some of the organizations who received the donation. The B. Fisher Foundation received a donation from the United Way a few months ago, which helped supply their PPE. They are excited to see run once again.
This time around, it's funding to help us with some technology in our care homes. That's just going to help keep our individuals that are in the care homes better connected with one another during the winter months when they can't get out as much. And it's also going to help with our managers getting them into some technology that allows them to work a little bit more remotely, and just to reduce the face-to-face interactions that we all love, but we know we have to reduce at this time.
The United Way of Lloydminster and District gave away around $45,000 to organizations in the community. It is time now for this week's Retrospect. Here's Blake Nath.
this week in retrospect. Back in '95, a refugee from Bosnia visits Cut Knife to bring awareness to issues faced in her home country.
Concentration camp. She tells stories about the rape camps where Bosnian women were kept and raped over 100 times, and over 50,000 children that are still missing or dead. 2 years ago, her family was able to escape to Canada, to where they now live in Ontario, and Aida says it's very different.
People have their freedom of speech, people have a good education, basically it's more comfortable to live here than back there, especially now because of the war. I don't have childhood, and they just simply took it away.
She says she enjoys speaking to the students.
It gives me a good feeling. Being welcomed here in Saskatchewan means a lot to me, especially after how I've been treated back in my country.
But although she loves it here, she can't help but miss her real home.
I miss it every minute of my life. I wish, for my sake and for the sake of my friends there, I was there behind them, supporting them in what they're doing at the moment. And I'm glad to be here, but I would prefer if I was there.
And in 2000, students and staff at Sacred Heart School host a Remembrance Day ceremony.
I think that a ceremony like this is just wonderful for the students, for the parents, for the community, most of all, the Legion.
Students and staff at Sacred Heart School took a moment to remember today. Ashley Roth remembered her grandfather who served in World War II. The grade 11 student wrote a poem in honor of all soldiers who fought for our country's freedom.
My poem's about soldiers and what they dedicated to be in the Army and how it reflected on us.
Every teacher in the school had their class decorate a part of the gymnasium. School principal Doug English says Remembrance Day doesn't get the attention it deserves, and they wanted to change that.
It sort of dies in some areas and some schools, and we just thought our students, the only way to get them really knowledgeable was to get them involved. So if we got them involved in this capacity, it almost forces them to learn about Remembrance Day.
Students at Denzel's school spent 3 weeks preparing for this day. The ceremony was not only for students, but involved the community as well.
And that's it for this week in retrospect.
Retrospect this week is brought to you by Webb's Ford. Worth your while to drive the extra mile. Webb's Ford in Vermilion.
Now our Connor Chan will take a look at your weather forecast.
Thanks a lot, Jasmine. Well, of course, this weekend we definitely got the snow that we were expecting. We expected a little bit more than we thought, but we got up to that 10-centimeter mark of some snow and also some cold temperatures. On top of that, as we sit right now at -9 with some cloud coverage right now throughout the day here, and we are going to get some we are going to get some more snow and expected to over the next several days. But -9 is what we sit at right now, and it feels more like -14 with that wind chill. As we look at some other areas here in the region, -7 in Vermilion, St. Paul, and Bonnyville as well, -8 for Cold Lake, as well as at -6 out in Vegreville, -5 in Edmonton, -10 in both Maidstone and North Battleford. We see -11 down in Macklin. We see -9 in St. Walburg, -7 also we see in Isle La Crosse as well. Now, as we look at the satellite radar map, we do see those periods of snow coming in. We see some showers as well in those northern areas as well, but we are going to see some of that snow air. Mostly, a lot of that is out in BC right now. Of course, there are some warnings out in British Columbia, but nonetheless, we are going to get some of that current coming back, where we are going to expect some more snow overnight tonight as well as throughout the day tomorrow. Now, as we look at overnight in North Battleford, -17 the temperatures for them overnight, going to -6 tomorrow with kind of similar results as we see today, with a little bit more sun, just barely in that regards there. -10 overnight in Cold Lake with some cloud coverage, going into -1 tomorrow for the day with some light snow as well. And that's the same results for us here tomorrow as we look overnight, -13 overnight, so it may feel a little bit cooler, more so closer to -20 with that wind, and then -1 expected for us tomorrow with our daytime high, where we could see possibly maybe between the 2 to 10 centimeter range of snow for tomorrow. So here's a look at the next 3 days. We are expecting more snow again, as I mentioned there on Wednesday, but it's going to be a much colder day with a high of -12 and a wind chill close to -30 there. And as we look on to Thursday, cold temperatures continuing on in the morning with that low of -21 and a high of -12. Feels more like -23 throughout the day. That's a look at your weather for now. We'll have more primetime local news coming up after the break.
Welcome back. As the newly re-elected Saskatchewan Party settles into their new cabinet positions, the Agriculture Producers Association of Saskatchewan continues to advocate for producers. Eric Bay has more.
I'm joined today by APAS President Todd Lewis. Todd, thank you for coming on today. And obviously, Saskatchewan has just had a provincial election. So what is APAS's outlook or mindset here as we exit this election with the Saskatchewan Party still in power?
I think the recognition, one of the most positive things I think we heard through the candidates' replies were that agriculture is an important driver in Saskatchewan and is recognized as really, really one of the number one industries in the province, and agriculture does hold that place. So I think that was, but I just think recognition, and we really haven't heard a lot of talk around agriculture, but at the party leader level, there've been some comments, of course, but really during the debate, for instance, agriculture was barely mentioned. So it's important that we talk about agriculture during this election cycle. So it was good to hear that during this debate.
Now, rural internet access has been a big talking point the past few years, now even more so with the COVID-19 pandemic, and the federal government has even announced a lot of funding will be going towards rural internet. How important is this for APAS, and what's the next step here in the province of Saskatchewan?
I think that's going to be the number one issue after the election. We set up a rural connectivity task force. We're going to have reports come out early next year about that. As I said, we had a board meeting this past week, and I think we're coming out of that board meeting. I think one of the things we're seeing is that frustration is really quickly turning to almost anger in rural Saskatchewan. We've got young people having to leave their homes to take university classes because they can't go to school, but they can't take distance learning at home either because of internet connections and cell service. And so it's got to a point now, a break point here, especially with COVID. It's not a luxury anymore; it is a necessity. So we really need to see a good plan put forward by in the next government's mandate to actually really see some valid improvements in. We've put lots of band-aids on it up to this point, but we've really got to get a good plan in place that really sees some real major improvements in rural Saskatchewan, because it's getting to the point where it's really going to affect where people are going to be able to live and work in the province.
Now, as we head out of harvest and into the winter, the markets are looking pretty good. What is APAS's priority as we enter 2021?
That's a huge issue, interprovincial trade. We spend lots of time in the media and so on talking about trade deals and between, be it the new NAFTA, the China trade policy, all these things which do affect us. But we've got to remember a lot of our domestic market is right here within the country, and not only in the borders of the province. Something like, moving meat across borders, processed meat products, inspections, all those kind of things are long-standing irritants for a province like Saskatchewan, especially where we export so much of our product. And so we've got to continue to go push hard on interprovincial trade barriers, because it does affect agriculture, and really in a lot of cases in certain segments of our industry, it's as a big a detriment as international trade issues.
All right, Todd, thank you so much for your time here today. Always appreciate getting to talk with you.
Now we'll take a look at your ag prices. On Sunday night, Grand Prairie was the host of the 2020 PBR Canada Finals. 11 months ago, the PBR made the second stop of the season here in Lloydminster, where Dakota Butter took home the win. This weekend saw a similar result.
Well, this past weekend was a big one in the world of bulls. The PBR Canada Finals took part this weekend with Dakota Butter coming out on top. Joining me today to break this down is Eric Bay. Eric, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, Eric, we saw Dakota Butter come here early on in the season and really dominate Lloydminster. Do you think that really set the tone for the rest of his 2020 season?
Actually, I really think the tone was kind of set back in the 2019 PBR Canada Finals in Saskatoon. And obviously that weekend he came in as the #1 contender. He was in that #1 spot, and Dalen Swearingen really put on a clinic and took it right out from under him and Jared Parsonage there. So I think that is what really didn't sit well with Dakota, just again, having that great chance, that shot to be finally the PBR Canada champion. I think that's what really carried into his stop here in Lloyd, where again, as you mentioned, put on a very good showing and then continued that here throughout the start of the season.
Now, I was going to ask you about that. Last year, it was very devastating for Butter. He was going in sort of as that #1 guy, but unfortunately things slipped away from him. Did you think that this could possibly happen again this year?
No, again, Dakota Butter, we've seen time and time again. He's a guy who's locked in, and he expects to ride his bull every time he's out of the gate. It doesn't matter that that bull is 1,800 pounds. He expects to ride it. So I really think, again, he was just locked in. He had that stretch at the start of the season where he was 11 for 11, which is just unheard of in bull riding. Carried that forward after the COVID break and ended up riding 72% of his bulls here. So I just think from really start to finish, Dakota Butter was locked in and definitely the best bull rider on tour this entire season.
And that 11-4-11 streak ties a PBR Canada record for consecutive rides. Now, Eric, this was Dakota Butter's first championship, PBR Canada championship, rather. Who do you think's next to really break through and get there first?
Yeah, I think there's quite a few guys. Brock Radford is one that comes to mind, but for me, I think Jared Parsonage will be the next guy to kind of break through. As you say, again, we've talked, it was him and Dakota Butter, that 1-2 punch last year in 2019 who came in before, as we mentioned, Dalen Swearingen was able to kind of sweep that entire weekend and take that championship. So I think this is Jared Parsonage's year. He's really kind of a more calm guy behind the chutes, pretty quiet guy. Once he gets on that bull, he's very smooth, and I think he's going to be the next guy to win that PBR Canada championship.
Now, you kind of mentioned it. Parsonage was that #2 guy behind Butter last year, but this year he did slip a little bit. He was within the top 10, but just a little lower there. Does that worry you at all going into the next season with him possibly, trying to make a run for that championship?
Not at all. I mean, obviously this year was kind of a strange year all around for any sport, no matter which way you slice it. And he still rode over 60% of his bulls. So I think this year, just the fact that guys were probably able to get maybe a little healthier than they have been in years past, just with that time off, I think that'll be huge. So again, I really think he kept in pretty great shape. As I mentioned, over 60% of his rides. So I think just a few more events next year and maybe better rides there in the finals. And I think he's right up there with Dakota Butter and some of these other guys, including Zane Lambert, who also ended up finishing #2 and a kind of a surprise this year.
Yeah, Zane Lambert, just want to touch on him quickly. Like you said, finished #2. He actually finished #1 on day 1 of the finals and second on day 2. And then another older guy, Aaron Roy, also had a pretty good finals. He got third on day 2. Do you think that break due to COVID during that middle of the season really helped some of the older guys like those two?
Oh, there's no question. Again, bull riding is a sport where it's not if you get injured, it's when. And I think guys like Aaron Roy, who's had some pretty major injuries in his career, this was really a big boost, especially because he's also a guy who's not really traveling to a ton of events. I know we spoke to him again when all those guys were in Lloydminster back in December. He's kind of taking it a little bit easier on that trail, only hitting maybe every couple of events or so. So I think that really helped him too, just being able to be more on a level playing field with everybody, a few fewer events, and then just staying healthy throughout the end for sure is huge.
And if there was one guy in the PBR Canada world who did need a little bit of time to get healthy and just a little bit of a break, Aaron Roy would be that guy. Eric, it's always a pleasure getting to chat with you. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, for sure. Always fun to talk PBR.
Now our Connor Chan will take a look at your weather forecast.
All right, thanks so much, Jasmine. Looking at temperatures right now, we are still fairly cool, and that's going to continue to be the case over the next couple of days here. But -9 is what we sit at right now, and with that wind chill, it feels more like -14. As we look out west, -5 in Edmonton and Athabasca, Whitecourt, -2 in Edson and Jasper, with -3 in Rocky Mountain House and in Red Deer. Over in Saskatchewan, it's much colder, and of course Saskatoon did get a lot more snow than we did here in Lloydminster, and other areas as well in Saskatchewan got a lot more snow. snow and those blizzard-like conditions. But minus 10 in Meadow Lake in North Battleford right now with minus 14 in Saskatoon and minus 12 in Prince Albert with minus 15 in Melfort as well. Now, as we look at northern Saskatchewan, La Loche and Buffalo Narrows and Uranium City all sitting at minus 9 right now. Minus 12 in La Ronge and South End and Wollaston Lake as well, with minus 11 in Flin Flon and in Stony Rapids. Looking at northern Alberta right now, it's fairly a little bit warmer as we see single-digit temperatures in the minuses, as well as also in positive temperatures in areas like Peace River and Grand Prairie. Minus 5 in Slave Lake in high level, minus 4 in Fort Chipewyan, and then minus 1 right now in Fort McMurray. Now looking at southern Alberta right now, minus 3 in Lethbridge with minus 5 in Banff, and then we see a minus 1 in Banff, excuse me, minus 5 in Medicine Hat, and then 2 degrees in Calgary with minus 8 in Coronation, and then a little bit colder in southern Saskatchewan as we see minus 13 in Kindersley, minus 10 for Moose Jaw, and then minus 12 in Swift Current and Yorkton as well. Now as we look across the rest of the country, we see some areas, especially in Toronto, they've had some pretty warm temperatures for the last couple of days there, but that snow current and system that we got over the weekend, it's making its way out east, and Winnipeg right now sitting at minus 6 with 8 in Quebec City, and then we see 15 in Toronto and 4 for St. John's, and then Halifax in the evening right now at clear skies at 12 degrees, 5 in Edmonton, minus 5 in Edmonton as I mentioned there, 4 degrees in Vancouver right now with minus 4 up in Yellowknife, and then minus 3 in Whitehorse. Now as we look at what we could see for tomorrow, a little bit warmer tomorrow for the most part at minus 1 as our expected daytime high, but of course with the wind chill it could feel a little bit colder, but the periods of snow that we are going to be getting for tomorrow won't start until at least around that 6 a.m., 7 a.m. range in the morning, because that current in the system is not making its way over anytime soon into the Lloydminster area in the evening. But as we see, other areas of Vermilion and Marwayne are sitting at 0 degrees for tomorrow, 1 out in Vegreville, minus 1 in St. Paul and Bonnyville, as well as in Cold Lake. Then we see minus 6 for North Battleford for tomorrow, and then minus 4 in Maidstone, with minus 4s also in Isle La Crosse and Green Lake as well. So here's a look at the next 7 days. We could get possibly up to 10 centimeters of snow for tomorrow. If not, then probably we're in that range of 2 to 4. Then we look at Wednesday, could get that range from 1 to 3 centimeters for that day. Minus 12 on Thursday, minus 8 Friday, and then we have a minus 4 on Saturday with more snow expected, and then minus 5 on Sunday with minus 11 on Monday. That's a look at your 7-day forecast. We'll have more primetime local news after the break.
I'm joined here with Constable Flynn with the Lloydminster RCMP. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well, thanks.
So this weekend, the first official snowstorm of the winter season has hit. Have there been quite a few incidents so far?
The roads were pretty slick on Highway 16, and a lot of, accidents as a result of the slick conditions. I can't really speak to the actual stats of how many accidents there were, but there were some motorists in the ditch for sure.
And what safety tips would you give residents during this time?
RCMP, we just encourage that motorists by this time with the first snowfall should have snow tires on. Just ensuring that those snow tires are in good working condition as well, especially if you put them on yourself. So making sure the tire depth is good, the tread depth, and there's lots of air in them. A lot of people get their tires put on at a scheduled, tire factory, but just make sure that those tires are switched out by now. And just taking your time with travel. So due to the icy conditions around town and on the highways, we just encourage people to take their time to get where they're going safely. This might look like, maintaining average highway speeds, even less than highway speeds. If you're traveling those 110 kilometer speed zones, and avoid passing vehicles if you can't see. You want to maintain visible driving lane as you're proceeding on the highway there.
So speaking of speed zones and everything, what would you suggest for right now for residents to drive? Like, especially on the highway with 110, would you say try going 100?
Yeah, I try to keep those speeds under the prescribed highway speeds, especially if they're slick. So if you're hitting, if you're slipping and you're having a hard time, maintaining control, say you're hitting those icy patches, like black ice is out there and drifts are out there, right? So we want to make sure that you're able to maintain control of your vehicle while you're on your travels on the highway. So if that requires you to go less than the prescribed speed limit, do that. We just recommend that you do stay in that right-hand drive lane and not be in the passing lane, not continuously driving in the passing lane.
And for people traveling on the weekends especially, and they come into some roadside issues, what would you suggest for people to do to keep safe?
So along with having a good brush, so you want to have a snow brush in your vehicle at this time as well, okay? So making sure motorists have a good working brush and they are clearing off their windshields. That's another safety feature. So oftentimes we see vehicles driving around with snow or ice still on their vehicles, making sure that all your windshields are unobstructed. So to have an unobstructed viewpoint from your vehicle is important. And then along with that brush, you should have like a roadside emergency kit available. So that could include things such as warm clothes, blankets, flashlights, even some snacks if you do get stuck abandoned, kind of waiting for your tow truck. That oftentimes happens during the winter. So just make sure you have snacks and stuff even if you have kids aboard, just to make sure something to keep them entertained. Even I know it's hard to keep water from freezing in your vehicle, but just having something that's gonna keep you hydrated and keep you fed. Also having a shovel readily accessible and a first aid kit is important too.
Is there anything else you want to add for residents to know about during this time?
Yeah, just a reminder, if you are, trying to warm up your vehicle and get it ready for your travel, just to make sure you're using those secure, like an idle that is secure. So you're going to want to use a remote starter, and just to make sure the keys are not in your vehicle and it's not easily, doors are locked, and that it's not going to fall victim to like an opportunistic criminal that's going to see, an idling car sitting on the roadway. Whether it be on the roadway or your driveway, just make sure that you're warming up those vehicles in well-lit areas and keeping an eye on your vehicle while it is warming up as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me here today, Constable Flynn, and thank you for some safety tips for residents to use during this time.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
I'm joined today with Darcy Welderman from the Lloydminster Kinsmen Club. Thanks for taking some time to talk with me today.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the need for some donations and fundraising for the Kinsmen Club. But first of all, I wanted you to just talk a little bit about what the Kinsmen Club is and how does it help support the community?
Well, the Lloydminster Kinsmen Club in particular has been in Lloydminster for, I think, 92 years or 93 years. And we're one of the oldest ones in Canada, still alive and well. And COVID has really hurt us. And what we do in the community is, like our motto says, we serve the community's greatest need. That being said, we are a service club that reaches out, helps different individuals, helps groups, fundraises to give money back into our community.
So you mentioned that COVID-19 has obviously impacted the club's ability to fundraise and made it hard. How has it challenged you guys? What are some of the things that it's impacted?
Well, in a typical year for us, we donate approximately $25,000 back into the community of Lloydminster, as well as on an average year, we probably donate around $30,000 to $35,000 to Telemiracle. We're struggling right now with fundraising, as is everybody, right? We can't. All our projects are typically hands-on, bartending and casino nights and stuff like that, where it's a face-to-face interaction with our fundraising. So with COVID-19, obviously we're not allowed to do any of that. So our fundraising has gone from a group of 22 guys that's excited to get out in the community and fundraise to a group of 22 guys sitting around wondering what we can do. We do have some fundraising in the works, but it's a whole different. We got to think outside the box and come up with some ways to raise money that we can't do our typical bartending or our typical Christmas parties or stuff like that. So it's been challenging.
For people at home who are looking that they want to be able to support the Kinsmen Club, what ways can they go about donating or assisting you guys?
Well, we're always looking for donations, and right now, especially more than ever, they can reach out to myself, or typically someone in the community knows a Kinsmen member or knows a friend of a Kinsmen member, and reach out to us. We're more than glad to pick up a donation straight outright if you're willing to go that way, or reach out to one of our social media pages or stuff like that. We're out in the community. We're well known in the community. So.
And the Telemiracle in 2020 happened in March, and right after that is kind of when COVID kind of heated up and everything shut down. Are you guys looking forward to this year's Telemiracle, and will it be going ahead as planned?
Yes, it was quite I guess we were lucky in that sense that Telemiracle last year happened, and a week later the world came to a grinding halt. So I guess if we're thankful for anything, we're thankful for we had the weekend we did. This year's Telemiracle is going ahead, yes. A lot of changes are in the works. A lot of changes have happened. It's going to be a whole new, I guess, concept for Telemiracle. In the 45 years that it's been going on, I don't think it's ever been where there's no live audience. And we're still going ahead with the national cast to an extent. There will be phones on stage with social distancing in mind. It's a whole new world for the committee this year. So, but it is going ahead.
That's good. And is there anything else you want to share before we end the interview today?
Well, like I say, with just talking, we've typically raised $25,000 into this community. We do school safety patrols. We do Lakeland college bursaries. We do bursaries into the Catholic school division as well as the public school division. The Gift of Christmas, Here Comes Santa. We donate to all of those groups. Right now, with looking at our budget, unfortunately, those people aren't going to get any money this year unless we can pull a rabbit out of our hat. Like I say, we do have a couple of fundraisers in the works. One will be end of January before we announce it, maybe the middle of January before we announce it. It'll be a big one. But up until now, I'm working on another one as well as we speak, but I can't confirm it yet because it's not confirmed yet. But we're just reaching out to people, and we know the people of Lloydminster support the Kinsmen and have for many, many, many years. So I guess we're just reaching out, looking for assistance and help from them, people of supporters.
All right. Thank you, Darcy, for taking some time to talk with me today. And it's good to spotlight a charity that needs some donation and some support from the community.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having us.
All right, taking one last look here at your weather forecast. We are expecting snow the next couple of days here. Could see possibly up to 10 centimeters tomorrow, as well as maybe even 1 to 3 on Wednesday. -12 on Thursday, -8 for Friday. As we get into Saturday, we are expecting more snow once again, where we could see 1 to 3 centimeters there. -5 on Sunday, and then -11 on Monday, as we're starting to see fairly colder temperatures. And with the wind, it could be a lot colder than that. On Thursday morning, we'll have one of our coldest days so far of the year, with that low of -21. And with that wind chill, maybe it could get closer to that -30 range, but lots of snow still expected on top of what we already received over the weekend.
Thank you for joining us on Primetime Local News. Have a great night.